Told you guys that I was going to be getting the transcripts. Daddy's got the transcripts. Okay? I'm going to preface this before we go over this transcript and let you guys know something. I am not biased in this at all. Stop the cap. And it's a protective order based on as well as stalking and harassment.
Massive news just dropped and the internet can't stop buzzing about it. The Tectone Files are finally out, and everyone's got something to say. Even the big shot lawyers in fancy suits like Legal Mindset. It's wild seeing people call each other out. It's like the kettle calling the pot black. Anyway, here's the real shocker. Tectone just got completely dropped from his agency. And get this, the whole thing started months ago behind the scenes. The civil court just ruled that there's enough evidence to believe the respondent was involved in serious misconduct and stalking. That's not all. Tectone's been slapped with a 10-year protective order tied to his ex's assault case. The Travis County Court didn't hold back, and the ruling forces Tectone to comply with strict restrictions. This whole thing's turning into one of the most talked about legal dramas online. So here's what the judge ordered. John Robertson, that's Tectone's real name, has to stay at least 200 yards away from Pink Shoe, hand over any firearms, delete every single photo or video of her, cut off all contact, and on top of that, pay her $15,000 plus legal fees. The order runs until January 23rd, and it's no small thing. The court said there were reasonable grounds under civil law, which uses a lower standard of evidence. And get this, there still aren't any criminal charges yet, even though the case file was sent to prosecutors.
I've also got confidential polygraph results.
Dude, this is actually Saul Goodman.
So he did a polygraph test. He gave consent for it. He's under a doctor's care for low T and anxiety.
Basically, for the next 10 years, he's completely banned from owning or touching any guns. That's a huge deal for someone who built a career around firearms content. Now, for anyone wondering who Tectone really is, he's a former shooting and impact gear content creator who went through serious stress, even losing all his hair over it. He's 42 now, and this entire mess unfolded in a civil trial, not a criminal one. And just to clear things up, civil cases don't follow the same heavy burden as criminal ones. In criminal court, it has to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt, but in civil court, it's all about what's more likely than not. Even around 50% proof can hold up if the judge finds the testimony solid, consistent, and believable. Look, people are out here labeling Tectone with all kinds of wild titles, but let's keep it real. That's just not accurate. I'm not about to fake it or hide where I stand. Honestly, I want Tectone to be innocent. I've always liked the guy, and I don't want to see him painted as something terrible. But at the same time, I'm not gonna blindly defend him or throw shade at the woman involved when I don't have all the facts. That wouldn't be fair at all. Now, Tectone himself jumped in to set the record straight. He said, guys, real quick, let me clear something up. I wasn't convicted of a crime. I wasn't part of a criminal trial. I'm not going to jail, and I'm not facing any criminal punishment. This was a civil hearing, which uses a much lower standard of proof than a criminal case. So, yeah, he's making it clear this wasn't a criminal conviction. It was a civil ruling, which means it's more about probability than solid criminal evidence. And in the middle of all this, Tectone's biggest critic, BizKiff Chive, just had to jump in again, stirring things up online like usual. Totally unrelated, but someone pointed out his sweatshirt, and not gonna lie, it was actually kind of cool. Man, 225 pages of court documents just dropped. That's insane. Like, come on, bro. Someone even pulled out what looks like a whole notepad filled with notes about how much Tectone supposedly hates them. But honestly, trying to discredit Ms. Giff doesn't really do anything to help Tectone's situation. If anything, it just keeps adding more noise to the firestorm around him. I'm sure TTO would agree here, but let's be real.
Tectone has his own mental health stuff. We'll see is his consistent threats on social media, wherein he has told his audience of over 1 million subscribers he suffers from schizophrenia. He has delusions at least once a month and they're not controlled. Well, okay. So he's allowed to tell his audience about his mental health condition, if that's something that's out there and that's relevant, right?
Tectone kinda lost control online for a bit. He was going off hard on Twitter and even during his live streams looking heated and defensive the whole time. The dude's 42, completely bald, and at this point, probably exhausted from all the chaos surrounding him. The court hearing itself ran for a wild 7 hours, which is way too long to break down in one YouTube video. And trust me, there's no way to shove all that into ChatGPT or compare it to some Fortnite drama. I'm not trying to play judge, jury, or executioner here, but I'll definitely dive into the biggest viral moments from that courtroom showdown. I mean, let's be real. Tech1 built his whole fan base off those shooting and impact videos, so this fallout hits extra hard. Honestly, I kind of feel bad for some of the smaller creators in that same space who just got caught in the crossfire for no reason, like they're paying for drama they didn't even start. It's wild how society sometimes turns on people so fast, like one mistake and you're suddenly the villain. Some folks online even started throwing around weird talk about low testosterone or calling out shooting culture like it's some kind of problem to erase. That's just messy energy all around. Now, I'm not claiming to be an expert here, and I've got no idea how legit polygraphs really are. But one thing's for sure, it's super interesting how Legal Mindset even managed to get access to that confidential file in the first place. That part's raising a lot of eyebrows right now. So apparently, part of the court's order says Tech1 has to be blocked on every single account, no exceptions. Then someone online said, "Can you post this under Tech1's latest tweet and ask him if he's jealous?" Wild request, but it's out there. And in the middle of all this, Mischief decided to show off that she legally owns a firearm, while also claiming that Tech1 randomly brought up Hassan and his dog in court. Yeah, you heard that right. He allegedly mentioned Hassan's dog getting shocked during the hearing, which everyone found bizarre and honestly kind of funny, given how random it was. But things took a darker turn when the defendant, Fu, accused Legal Mindset of doxing her family. In Tech1's case, she claimed the YouTuber leaked unredacted court drafts live on stream, documents clearly marked unofficial. That leak triggered a full county investigation and forced her to make plans to relocate for her own safety. That's no joke. The situation escalated fast. Now, this isn't really the hill I'm willing to die on, but I've got to call out some of the hypocrisies floating around this whole case. When all this drama blew up, Tech1 admitted that he lost a huge chunk of his audience, which pushed him to switch up his entire content style. He said he never used to talk politics or touch topics like privilege, but after the fallout, he had to pivot hard to stay relevant online. Honestly, it might have been smarter for him to just admit that he was done with the whole shooting and impact niche instead of acting like he was making some noble stand. But hey, it's kind of wild that he straight up admitted in court that he was grifting. That's one way to make headlines. After all this chaos, a bunch of Tech1's old anime circle decided to cut ties completely, and not quietly either. They dropped long dramatic manifestos online explaining why they were done with him, and some of those posts got intense. What's interesting though, is that they're not even claiming the whole situation wasn't consensual. Since this is a civil case, it kind of feels like they're trying to shape the public's view of him in a certain way. You can feel the tension in how it's being framed. And seriously, why are so many of these files heavily redacted? It's giving mystery vibes. Like, what are they hiding? Someone even joked, "We got Jeffrey energy up in here." And honestly, it's not far off from how suspicious this looks. From what I can tell, she seemed to change her stance after the fact, but most of this case boils down to conflicting testimonies, leaving the judge to piece together what really went down. Once again, this wasn't a criminal conviction. Nothing's been proven in a criminal court. I don't even have to defend Tech1 here because at the end of the day, this whole thing comes down to testimony and interpretation. But here's where things get messy. Mischief straight up admitted to most of what he was accused of, and now he's trying to play it off like it's just a civil case, as if that makes it less serious. But let's be real, this wasn't some small hearing.
By the way, remember, he was also accused of having a micro, right?
The court found Tech1's actions serious enough that if he had kept certain videos on his phone, it could have led to criminal charges. You don't just get hit with a 10-year protective order in Texas for nothing. That kind of ruling means you can't own or hold a gun for a full decade. That's major. And the deeper you dig, the more history comes up. Reports say Tech1's previous wife of 10 years also had serious accusations, but she was allegedly forced to sign an NDA to stay silent. That's raising a lot of eyebrows, especially since more than a dozen women have supposedly come forward to thank creators for bringing attention to how Tech1 treated women over the years. But not everyone's buying it. One person even said, "No shot I believe multiple women came forward to thank you," calling it hard to trust without proof. And honestly, let's talk about the videos for a second. Keeping private recordings of your ex on your phone? Not a good look. Even if everything was recorded with consent, if your ex wants those gone, just delete them. It's basic respect. And if you're really over someone, why would you even want that stuff sitting on your phone anyway? Yeah, that whole thing is just straight up weird. At the end of the day, it's always better to play it safe. If you're ever in a situation like that, just ask for clear permission first. Something as simple as, yo, can I record this real quick? Can save you a world of trouble later on. Since the burden of proof falls on the accuser, it's gonna be interesting to see if she decides to reopen the case, especially since she already has that protective order locked in. Mischief even dropped a super creepy story about Tech One and Eru, claiming he's been holding on to it for a whole year. Totally unrelated to the case, but man, that story had people talking. Still, let's keep things fair. We shouldn't jump to conclusions or pre-convict Tech One of anything, but we also shouldn't ignore Pink Shoe's side either. You can take her story seriously without automatically labeling Tech One as guilty. It's about hearing both sides and understanding the full picture. And yeah, just to be clear, criminal guilt can only come from an actual criminal trial. If that had happened here, Tech One would be behind bars, no question. Anyway, that's the full breakdown of this wild situation. What do you think? Did the court get it right, or is there more to this story? Drop your thoughts in the comments, like, subscribe, and share to keep this conversation going. Let's talk about it.